What was your hardest Hatzalah call?
I think everyone will probably say 9/11. That was definitely one of the most difficult days of all of our lives, especially those of us who were down at the World Trade Center for several days. But they all have different challenges. So I would just say that dealing with emotion and medical problems both at the same time, as well as the family of all of our patients, that's what makes the calls difficult.
I would say my hardest Hatzalah call was about 5 years ago, when I responded at 3 o'clock in the morning to a call for a child not breathing. You see, we often respond to the elderly and people who are older in situations where they're in cardiac arrest and they're not breathing, and we often have to pronounce them. And those are very, very sad and hard to deal with. But it's easier to cope when they're older and we're able to put things into perspective. But when I responded to that infant at 3 o'clock in the morning and the patient didn't make it, that was one of my harder calls. It's hard to see that. It's hard to have a child die on you. It's hard to have a child in your arms where you're doing CPR and you're trying as best as you can, but you feel so helpless. And there's just nothing you can do and the child just doesn't make it.
Hardest could mean many things. Hardest could mean it was hard for me to go away from work, hard for me to run away from a Shabbos Seder, hard for me to leave from a family simcha for 2 or 3 hours, or hard for me to face the patient that's going through such pain. So it's a very tough question to answer. But every single call has its hardships. You left from somewhere, you left from your personal life, you stopped doing what you're doing to help someone else.
The truth of the matter is that I had quite a few, but the one that always keeps me up at night at times must have been 18 or 19 years ago. I'll never forget a call. 2 o'clock in the morning, there's a call that comes out just a few blocks away from my house, and a child not breathing, an infant not breathing. I rush out of the house and I get to the house, and as I'm walking into the house and I see that the mother is in the kitchen with the baby, holding the baby in her hands, I noticed that this house was a little bit different. It wasn't what you're expecting to see at 2 o'clock in the morning. There were flower arrangements on my right. There were baskets with candies on the left. There was pillows, and something didn't seem the norm. And then as I'm walking in with my equipment, I realized that this is a house that has a simcha. There's a happy occasion in this house. And when I walked into the kitchen and the mother was frantically screaming, "Please help, help," I asked, "How old is this baby?" And she said, "He's 7 days old. Tomorrow morning is supposed to be his Brit Milah." I really didn't know. I knew what to do because we're trained, but I didn't know what to do with myself. I'm looking at all these different arrangements that tomorrow morning is going to be this boy's Brit Milah, and this boy is in cardiac arrest. This boy is not breathing. There's no pulse. They didn't know why. Immediately we performed CPR. The paramedics, God bless them, Hatzalah paramedics came in, the other EMTs that backed us up, the ambulance that came in. We rushed this child to the hospital. Very, very difficult Hatzalah call, but I'm so fortunate and happy to say that this child survived. The Brit Milah was not done on time, wasn't done that morning, but today that boy is walking around. That boy, Baruch Hashem, will build a Jewish home. That boy will live to tell the story of what happened. That was by far the most difficult call that I've ever experienced on Hatzalah.
Would you suggest members of the community join Hatzalah?
If someone has the medical knowledge and the interest to help, has the courage to face hard scenes and difficult situations, and has his family support and his job allows him, he definitely should try and join the team. We're the greatest team in the world.
It's a phenomenal way to give back to your community, your neighbors, your friends, your family. And there's nothing like being there to help somebody in their time of need.
And you don't need to be an EMT or a paramedic like me. There are many opportunities and ways that you can participate in Hatzalah and help us make a difference.
It's not easy getting up 3, 4 in the morning when it's freezing cold or when it's boiling hot and you gotta get dressed, run out. And I'll tell you one thing, when you come back, whether it's 3, 4, 5 in the morning after the call, you're not going back to sleep. At least I know I'm not. Your adrenaline is pumping, and it can sometimes take a week till you recover from that. So it's not easy. It's not all fun and games, but the reward is great. You save one life, it's like saving the entire world. So yeah, if somebody can do it, and if they're cut out for it, I would love for them to, do it.
So step on up, take that course. Because when you save that first life, it'll all be worth it.
You need to know that you're really supporting yourself. Hatzalah is here for the community. Hatzalah is here to give to us. Hatzalah doesn't hold on to it, it gives it right back. So I believe that anyone who supports Hatzalah, anybody who joins Hatzalah, they're all Hatzalah members in one way or another.
If you want to join Hatzalah for the right reason, the answer is yes. There is no better feeling than being part of Hatzalah.